Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jamie Albright. And this week on the show we have
Matthew J. Holmes.
Yes, we do. It's so fun. What I like about Matt is he's not afraid to say either what I did didn't work or it used to work, but it doesn't work anymore. Now we got to do something different. And I really like that about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he has a great story, like how he got into ads and how he runs ads for his wife and her books. So it's a really good interview. So that's coming up. And it was a very long, extensive conversation with Matt. And so what we've done is we've split it up so that part of it is a supporter chat. We ask Matt about trends, AI and ads and how that's affecting ads. Jamie asked all her personal questions to Matt about ad stuff, and they had a good discussion. So that is a supporter chat that will come out on the same day as this episode. So if you want to hear that, you can become a supporter. You can go to wishidknownthen.com/support, and you can sign up there and get access to that episode as well as all of our other backlist supporter chats and exclusive episodes. So what have you been doing?
Well, I have been working on this book, and it's taken me a few days to figure out what I was going to do with with the developmental edits and the feedback I got. And so I've started that, and that's going well. And then I am working on a branding workshop, which I'm going to hold on December 14th at 2 p.m. That's a Saturday. So hopefully a lot of people can be there, but you'll get the replay if you don't, and you can find that link in the show notes, but it's jamiealbright.com/author workshops.
Perfect.
Yep. That's
and anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
How about you?
I have launched the letters, so those are live. I'll put a link in the show notes in case anyone wants to go look. So I'm excited to get those out, and I segmented my list and sent the information to the first part of the list, had a really good response. And then now I'm working on getting the word out to everybody else. Right. So it'll probably be live till first week of December, I think. And then we'll see how it's going then. Reassess if I'm going to keep it open longer or not. So,
you're also going to send it to your Kickstarter list,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes, it will go to the Kickstarter list.
That's right.
So that's it. And that has really taken like all my time. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick is Joanna Penn has a podcast out about Author Nation. So if you want more information on some of the topics that were covered there, she talks about some of the sessions, and then she has a really good section where she talks about how to evaluate author services. She's very good at this, and I would say go listen to it, get her tips if you're trying to figure out if you want to work with somebody or not. So I will have a link to that in the show notes too.
And for the three people who don't know what Joanna's podcast name is, what is it?
It'll be on the Creative Pen podcast. Thank you.
We're recording this the Friday before Thanksgiving. So the Friday, in 1 week, I will leave to go to New York because my son is getting married on that Saturday. And it is about time. And but we're looking forward to it. We're excited. So if you're in the U.S. and you're celebrating Thanksgiving, we just hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we should get on with the interview.
Today we are really excited to have Matthew J. Holmes, who we call Matt, here today. How are you, Matt?
Very good. Thank you, Sarah. And Jamie, thank you so much for having me.
We're very pleased you're here. This is exciting.
Me too. Thank you.
All right, let me read your bio and we'll get into the questions.
Sure.
Matthew J. Holmes has helped transform thousands of author careers into sustainable 5- and 6-figure successes. When COVID-19 ended his video production business in 2020, Matt mastered book marketing to support his family, building his wife's books into a 6-figure business. He is now on a mission to help authors develop an advertising and marketing strategy that allows them to reach more readers and build thriving businesses that allow them to live life on their own terms.
I love that. And I've heard you speak, and your story is just very sweet and moving, and I love it. So tell us how you got started working with writers.
Sure. So as Sarah alluded to there, I was running a video production company for many years. I started at the BBC working as a cameraman, a camera operator and director. And then I moved into running my own video production company, and that went well for about 10 years. And then COVID hit the UK, and suddenly the business completely dried up, and that business was supporting myself and my wife. And it happened 2 months before our first children were born. They were twin boys. Suddenly we were left with no income and no business. And we had these from a soon to be family of four, and we didn't know what to do. So it was it was a very terrifying situation to be in. And Laurie had been writing her books in the background. We tried self-publishing back in 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, and it completely flopped. So then we went the traditional publishing route and we got a traditional publishing deal. But then 6 months in, that fell through. So we thought, what on earth do we do now? So nothing happened for a couple of years while Laurie just kept writing because she enjoyed it. And then when COVID hit and I suddenly had a lot of time on my hands because I had no clients. I couldn't go out and film. We were all stuck at home. And I had to figure something out for my family because I had no way to support them and no idea what to do. So we thought, well, we've got Laurie's book sitting here. I've got time on my hands. I've got 2 months before the twins land. So I may as well learn something new. So I just took Laurie's books, and we had in the sort of early 2020, we'd been sort of planning on launching them. We weren't quite sure when or how or anything like that. So we'd had new covers done. We'd written new blurbs. So we'd been tinkering, but never really took it seriously. It was more of a hobby more than anything else. But suddenly we were forced to take something seriously. We were sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place and had to figure something out quick. So I just dove into figuring out Facebook ads for advertising books. And to cut a long story short, we launched on April 19th, 2020, her book one. Book two was ready. So we launched that a week or so later. And then she'd written a companion novel to book two that was pretty much there. And we launched that a few months later. And then I think it took us about 8 months to get to 4 figures a month. Well, no, it took 2 months to get to 4 figures, sorry. So we got to just over 1,000 in a couple of months. And then 8 months, we got to about 5,000. And then I think it was about 17, 18 months later, we hit our first 5-figure month. And Laurie is a very slow writer. She writes one book a year. So she's very slow. She can take a whole, a whole writing session, which for her is about 3 or 4 hours to do one paragraph. So she's very, very slow. And it's sort of this sort of, what's the word? The sort of stuff we've been reading about online was you can't make a living as an author if you don't publish lots of books a year. Yeah. So that really, we were scared because we thought all we'd read was you have to have lots of books. And Laurie said, I cannot write that many books. I just can't do it. So we thought, we'll give it a go, but we're not really sure how this is going to turn out. So it did work out, fortunately for us. And yeah, so she's done well with her books. But yeah, so that's how I sort of got into the world of self-publishing. And it was from Laurie's success that Laurie started getting emails from other authors who were seeing her books on Amazon and asking how she was doing so well. And that's when she said, what's my husband doing it for me? So then she passed on details from these authors to me who said, well, can you do with my stuff? So that's sort of how I got started. It was just out of the blue, really, just by people asking me. And then I wrote a few guest posts for Kindlepreneur and some other ones. And that suddenly just sort of led to an influx of authors wanting to work with me one-on-one, doing coaching and consulting. And then after a while, I had people authors approach me saying, I can't afford your rates for one-on-one. Have you ever thought about doing a course? So I can learn from you that way. And I thought, well, no, I've never thought about it. So I thought, okay, that's an idea. Okay. So, and it sort of made sense because I thought, well, I can help a lot more people with a course than I can one-on-one. There's only so much time I can give. I'm only one person. I can't serve thousands of people one-on-one. It's just not possible. But a course is a way to do that, to help a lot of authors do that. So that's how the courses I run began. And then I have a newsletter that goes out each week. So it's all evolved, but over time as businesses do. But that's sort of, I tried to keep that short. That's how it all sort of came about in the first place.
Well, it's a fantastic story. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a great story.
Yeah. And it's very encouraging because you do hear a lot that you have to have, a huge backlist or you have to be able to write really quickly. Yep. And you've shown that you don't have to have either one of those things. And I like the way your philosophy seems to be to tailor things to help people whatever sort of career or writing thing they want to do, like whatever path they want to take, right?
Exactly. Whatever stage they're at.
Well, do you have any aspirations to write yourself? You do newsletters, you do blog posts. Do you have any aspirations to write fiction or anything like that?
Fiction, I wouldn't know how to start. No, I've written a few non-fiction books, but only on what I know about advertising. But writing a story, I take my hats off to every single fiction author out there. I do not know how to come up with those sort of worlds and characters and storylines, and it's way beyond me. I tried at school and failed miserably. So since those experiences, I haven't even tried since. I'll stick to non-fiction, I think.
There are days I agree with you. Yeah. Why am I doing this? What do you wish authors knew about your field, about running ads and getting into ads and things like that?
Lots of things. I've learned a lot over the and we tried and failed a lot of things. But if I could go back to myself for 2020 and authors who are getting into this field for the first time today, I'd say, well, there's a few things I'd say. The first one is it's not about complexity; it's about consistency, and getting complex with lots of different funnels, lots of different social media and different advertising platforms, and it can get very, very complex very, very quickly. And you can really dive into the weeds of many different ad platforms and become mediocre at lots of stuff, but not very good at one thing. And that has an impact on your results as a whole as well, because you're getting mediocre results from everything rather than really good results from one thing. And that overwhelms can overwhelm a lot of people. And being my wife Laurie, she's in a very fortunate position in that she doesn't have to think about marketing. I do all that for her. Whereas a lot of most authors out there's a few husband and wife teams out there, which is fantastic, but a lot of authors have to do context switching in the world of writing their books, and then they've got to switch out to doing the marketing, the advertising, looking at data and that side of things. So they're two very different sides of the brain, and you've got enough to do thinking about writing your book, let alone making your whole business very complex. So simplicity is one thing I would say. You keep your business as simple as you possibly can. Don't try and make things more complicated than they need to be, because that will have a negative impact on your business as a whole, but also from your enjoyment as well. Of running an author business. It can really have an impact on that and you can almost dread getting up in the morning because you're just so overwhelmed with all the things you've got to do, and you just want to write. So I find also that time blocking is something I wish I'd done in the beginning. So, and having like theme days during the week. So one day would be perhaps Facebook ads, for example. Another day would be, obviously you've got to get writing in each day as well, but from a business running perspective, one day might be Facebook ads, another day might be email marketing. You might have another day that's about learning, and you can sort of theme your days accordingly based on your goals. And based on goals, just talking about goals, actually having some sort of goal, having some sort of direction of where you want to go with your business is going to be a huge win for you, because if you don't know where you're going, you don't know which way to turn the rudder. In terms of if you're out in the sea, you don't know where you're going. So when you know where you're going, you know what you want to achieve, then you can take the steps backwards from that. You're thinking, okay, this month I need to get to this, I need to get this done, sorry. And then you can work that back, okay, from this month, okay, I need to do this week, next week I need to do that. And suddenly things become a lot clearer. The path becomes a lot clearer from where you are, where you want to go. I'm not saying you need to plan out where you're going to be in 5 years' time. That's probably too far out, really. But 12 months' time, where do you want to be? 2 years, I won't go any more than 2 years out from where you want to be. And then you can plan the things that need to be in place in order to get there. And okay, so that's one thing. And then another thing is, just speaking to advertising platforms and marketing, all advertising platforms aren't created equal. So Facebook ads is very different to Amazon ads in terms of how you run them. Web ads, again, is very different to how you run Facebook ads and Amazon ads. So they're all very different. They've all got their own nuances, which is why trying to learn all three at once or even two at once is a massive undertaking, as well as everything else you've got to do in your business and write, etc. And this is why I recommend to authors that you stick with one advertising platform for 90 days and go all in on that advertising platform. Because if you're trying to learn two or three at once, things are going to start getting messed up in your head because you're getting things confused between Facebook and Amazon or BookBub.
Right.
So if you can go all in on one and get really good at that, and which can happen in 3 months, it really can happen if you dedicate yourself and commit yourself to one advertising platform and not get sidetracked with shiny object syndrome and think, ooh, there's this new thing over here that authors are talking about. I must go and try that. The latest TikTok viral strategy or whatever it is. And no, stay in your lane, if you like, for where you are at the moment. And that will pay you dividends moving forwards. Another thing that I struggled with, particularly in the beginning, was seeing the spend we were putting out, the money we were putting into Facebook ads, as an expense. It took a while, but gradually I changed my mindset around that to, no, this is an investment. It's an investment in data. It's an investment in our future. That's how I see advertising spend rather than an expense. On paper, yes, it is an expense, but the way you think about it and the way you decide to spend it, how much to spend, it's an investment. If you spend it right, you spend it smartly, it will pay you dividends moving forwards. And another thing is, I know it's been around the last sort of year or so a lot, which is AI. And AI is scaring a lot of authors, understandably. But the way I see it, from a business and marketing perspective, I'm not talking about the writing of the books. I don't condone that at all. But from a marketing business running perspective, I find it an incredible assistant. I don't see it as a replacement.
No.
I see it as a way to help us see our books from different angles, from an advertising perspective, looking at ways how can we present our books to readers in different ways than we may not have thought of on our own, or it'd take months for us to think of on our own. And if we can write our ads in different ways, use different emotional triggers, then we can appeal to lots of different readers who may not have come across our books in the first place if we hadn't written it a particular way. So I find it very useful for writing ad copy. It's not something I take verbatim from AI and put into a Facebook ad, nothing like that. But it's a starting point. It's because when I started running Facebook ads, I literally had a blank Google Doc. That was it. And that's daunting. When you've never written a word of ad copy before, having a blank page and a blinking cursive is very scary. So if you can have some sort of a starting point to know, okay, this is how I can potentially present my book, you've got the forming of a statue there, if you like, a stone statue. And your job as the author, as the advertiser, is to chip away at that statue and mold it into something that you are happy with, that you're happy to put out into the world. And AI helps us it helps us with the grunt work, if you like, the heavy lifting, so that you have more creativity and energy and enthusiasm when it comes to the writing of your books, because your books are your products. Your books are everything. Because no amount of advertising will sell a bad book. And all advertising is going to do is amplify what you already have. Right. So if you're amplifying a bad book, you're just amplifying bad stuff. We want to really use advertising to make the right people aware of our books, but we need to have a good product in place first before we do that. And then one thing that we've touched on already is that one book per year can outperform rapid release potentially. I'm not saying it always does, and it doesn't work for some authors, and that's fine. That's not the way some authors work. But if there's an author listening to this who is terrified like we were that we have to pump out so many books a year and thinking, how on earth can I sustain that for the next 20, 30 years, or however long you want to be in this world, and that's putting you off even starting, don't let it, is what I would say. And build your business on your terms. Don't let society and all these other sort of opinions out there form how you want to run your business. Right. That's what I would say on that. So build it on your terms and build it how you want to. If you want to wake up in a year's time, how would you want to spend your perfect day? I'm not saying every day is going to be perfect, but you can at least build towards that, so you've got a much better chance of building business that you love and you're enthusiastic about, you're excited about getting up for in the morning, compared to one that you're dread going into.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like writing in a genre you don't love because it's a hot genre, and you write in that genre. And then if your books take off, then you're stuck writing that type of book, even though you maybe don't want to. We'll probably also need to consider, do I want to keep up this pattern that I'm in for the next 10 years, or is that going to run me into the ground?
Very much so. Yeah, absolutely.
And some people, they can't go slow. They want to go fast. So for them, that's great. But for other people, we have to think about it a little bit differently, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Because your business is there to serve you. You're not there to serve it. That's the way I see it.
And as someone who released slowly a book a year and was making 4 and 5 figures from the beginning, it's because of ads. Ads sustained my business. Now, I think things are different now because I haven't released a book in 4 years. Don't say that too loud. But when I knew if I put in this much money, I would get out this much money because I focused on one thing. Facebook ads is what it was. And I knew how to run those Facebook ads. Again, things have changed in the last 4 years, but that is the reason I wrote the best book I could. Did all the other stuff to set it up, but it was the ads that sustained those months in between when I had a release.
Yes, exactly. Focus and consistency.
Yeah, it was. And what's interesting is what overcomplicates me and my mind and my business may not overcomplicate someone else's mind and business. We all just have different levels. Well, I say we all have a different amount of brain cells, and mine are being eaten away every day by my grandchildren and life in general. And so, yeah, so and that changes too. There are times when you can handle more things, and there are other times you can't, and so you just have to peel things back and get down to kind of the basics of what you can handle and keeping writing the books as the focus, because
that's right, because we all go through different seasons of life as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, is there anything you wish you'd known about indie publishing specifically with working with authors?
I mean, look, speaking to people in my audience, authors in my audience, and a lot of this is what we felt as well, is that overwhelm is massive. It's everywhere. So that a lot of people who I speak to, a lot of authors who I speak to, they understand the information but don't know how to implement it. They understand what to do, but until they actually get into it, they don't really know how to do it.
Right.
This is why even today, I still dedicate at least an hour a week to learning something new. Even like 5 years down the line, I still learn something every single week, because I have dedicated learning time each week. I still read books to learn new things. So learning is something that I wish I'd started in earnest a lot earlier, to be honest. And I also find, life gets in the way. That's probably one of the biggest barriers as well. And more so than the technical skills and the money, it's more about managing our time more effectively is a big thing. And I think a lot of authors nowadays, ones I speak to, are fed up with the sort of the complexity of how complex things have got, and that they want simplicity. Complex strategies and lots of data and oodles of data and spreadsheet, things like that. Yes, it can be useful, but it can also be way too overwhelming for many authors. And then something also I wish I'd known earlier is how rapidly the industry changes, not just the publishing industry, but the advertising platforms. I didn't realize quite how fast things evolve. Readers' tastes change. What the messaging you use in an ad that worked 6 months ago just completely flops today. The styles of images that worked a year ago don't work today. And things change so quick, which is why I like to test quite regularly now. Almost every week, sometimes every other week. But most weeks I'm testing something new because things are just changing so quickly.
Yeah, they are. It is a rapid change. And actually, I saw you speak at Inkers.
Oh, yes.
2 years ago, I think. And something had changed with Facebook ads just 6 weeks or so before you gave your talk, and you had to change everything.
Change everything,
in your talk. Yeah.
It all changed.
Big changes. Well, what do you see authors doing that they do because they think they have to, but they're not producing results?
One of them is what we talked about, the rapid release pressure, if you like. That's one thing. I think another thing is following marketing trends and shiny object syndrome and getting a lot of FOMO and things like that. I've been guilty of that myself very much. When things aren't, if we have like a bad few weeks of Facebook ads, for example, I've been known to jump and going, oh, let's go and explore Pinterest ads. Let's go and explore X ads. And, I've done it. I've been there myself. Actually, what I should have done, no, let's continue down the lane we were. This is just a blip. We've got to get through it. We've got to keep pushing through it rather than keep jumping ship and keep changing strategies.
Right.
Another thing, if we were speaking about ads specifically, boosted posts over proper ads, if you like. Posts are quick, they're easy. It's a great way to get, or to spend money, really. It's a great way to do it without much return for it. I've done it. We did it in the beginning when pre-2020, when we were messing around with Laurie's books, and we did, boosted posts. That's quick, that's easy. It's £10. What you can do, and it has like zero impact. So instead of that £10, that £20, whatever you're going to spend on a boosted post, save that for a proper Facebook ad, and just invest the time in learning how to run a proper Facebook ad the traditional way, if you like. And I think another thing is jumping ship too quickly, jumping sort of strategy to strategy, not following through on one thing. If it doesn't work within 2 weeks, think, oh, no, that's not working. Let's go and try something else. Where in actual fact, it could take 3 months. It could take a few $1,000s before you figure something out in an advertising platform. It can take that much. If you spend $200 and, well, nothing's worked, well, that's not really enough data to make a decision that our entire platform doesn't work. So I think we need to stick to things longer and stop jumping ship so quickly. Another thing is social media. And I'm not against social media, I just don't use it myself. But a lot of authors feel that they need to do it in order to see success. And it can work. Don't get me wrong, it can work. And some authors see great results from it. But if you're not social media inclined, so to speak, you're not particularly excited about writing posts on multiple platforms or even one platform every day, you don't feel you have to do it. My wife, Laurie, she hasn't written a post on Facebook since 2022, I don't think it was. And even then it was sporadic. And you don't need to do it. You really don't need to do it. And the way I see it is we have two forms of currency. We can invest time or we can invest money. And we can always make more money. We can never make more time. And I want to spend the time doing the things I enjoy doing. And also, in terms of the money you put into advertising, there's a much better chance you'll get some, hopefully all and more, back from that. Whereas a social media post, it may have a lifespan of a day or two, and then it's gone, pretty much. Whereas an ad can run for weeks, months, even over a year sometimes, some ads. And you can get a lot more from that. You can gather a lot more data as well to understand what your audience likes and what it doesn't like by spending, $100, $50 on an ad. You think, well, they don't like that. Okay, I won't do that again. If you do use social media, that's fantastic. What you can do is you can look at the social media posts that have worked well for you, and then you can turn those into ads and put money behind those good performing social media posts. If social media is part of your strategy, you enjoy doing it, you enjoy engaging with your readers, etc., great. But don't just let it sit there on your feed and do nothing with it. It's worth spending a couple of hours going through the stats of your posts, particularly on Facebook, but even if you're on Instagram, you could turn that into a post potentially, or recreate it as a Facebook ad, something like that. You could look at the images that have worked well in your social media posts, whatever platform that's on, and turn it into a Facebook ad or a BookBub ad or anything like that. But what I'm saying is those are assets there that you have that could potentially be turned into ads that you could then put money behind to drive sales. I'm not saying everyone's going to turn into a winner, but you've got some data there. If you see that a social media post has got significantly more engagement than any of the others, or than a lot of others, if there's a big spike, then that's telling you something, that this is something potentially your readers like. Obviously, as long as it's not some sort of clickbaity thing, and that's why it's got lots of attention and things like that. Right. But all things being equal, then that could potentially be you could turn that into a post.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So it's really playing to your strengths, I suppose, is what I say here, and knowing what you enjoy doing and what you don't enjoy doing, and things that you feel you have to do don't necessarily have to be done. Or at the very least, they don't have to be done by you. That's another thing. When you get to a stage in business that you can afford to outsource some work, then you could potentially do that as well. That's another option. But it's not something you have to do. So again, it all comes back to building your business on your terms.
Yeah, social media weird. Like TikTok in particular. I mean, I enjoy TikTok just as a user, and I mostly am a user. They're the dealer, I'm the user. But I do post a lot. But what I find frustrating is I see a lot of authors on there just giving it their all and nothing is happening. And frankly, for me either. I mean, if I get 1,000 views on a post and a little interaction, I'm like, whew, that was a good post. I mean, I don't get big numbers, but I see people getting really frustrating and putting tons of effort in it. And the fact is that social media is such a roulette wheel that you cannot, there is no predicting. There are people teaching classes about strategies and things like that. And sure, if you want to take them, but there is no guarantee that what worked for them will work for you. No. And because social media is so fickle and we don't have any control over it. The same probably could be said about ads, but for me,
very much. Yeah.
For me, ads feels like they feel like I have a little more control because I can target some people, but it's just hard. And like I saw somebody yesterday and she made a post. It was kind of a funny post, but it was like when you see somebody hit #1 bestseller and they said they did no advertising. And and it was like womp womp kind of thing. And I went in and said, they are lying. They're lying. If they tell you they've hit #1 and this book is taken off with nothing, they are lying. This is not a market that can support that. And if they're on TikTok and have a lot of engagement, that's marketing. They may not have run ads, but that's marketing. And so they have, and she was like, do you really think so? I'm like, yes, I've spoken to millions of, tons of authors over the last 5 years on this podcast. I know not one of them that was successful has come on here and said, well, I just didn't do anything. I just put it up. Not one. Not one. It's not possible. And it's certainly not possible today.
No. It might have been possible back in 2010, 2011.
Maybe 2010,
maybe,
but not now. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's definitely a long shot. Yeah.
Right.
What I was thinking of when you were talking about following through and staying the course and keeping going, I thought it's almost like the stock market. Like if you buy stock and it goes down and then you sell it immediately, if you just hold it maybe another month or two, you'll be okay. Or it may go up. You have no guarantee. It's kind of the same thing. Like if you're spending money on ads and it doesn't seem to be going well, if you have in your mind, okay, I'm going to do it for this time period, then it's easier to watch the dips, and just keep going, right?
Yeah, that's right. And if you can say, right, for the next 90 days, I'm committed to $1,000 or whatever that figure is. You say, right, that's what I want to spend. That's the maximum I'm going with. That's as most I can afford to lose, and we'll see how we go. And at least you've got rather than as like an open checkbook.
Yeah, a money pit.
At least you've got some sort of budget in mind to work with, and that definitely helps with the mindset as well.
Yeah. Well, have you noticed any similarities in writers who've been successful doing this over the long haul? Because you work with a lot of different authors from different genres.
Yeah. So I think the biggest one I see is a shift. I see almost like an identity shift. I see in authors where they start treating their books as a business, not a hobby, which is how we were really. We started just playing around with it, and suddenly we were in a unique position where we were forced to start thinking of it as a business rather than a hobby. But that's the shift that I see it in clients I work with, when they suddenly go from thinking that this is just a pastime thing really, and we'll put some books out and see what happens, into no, I'm committed to this. Right, tell me what I need to do and I will do it. And that's probably one of the big things I see in the successful authors that I work with. And then another one is what we've covered really, is that really focusing on one ad platform first before layering on another one. And also it's not getting so attached to particular ads. So it's about making decisions based on data and not based on emotion. That's one of the big things, because you can think, oh, this ad is...
All right, just stop right there, Matt. No, I'm kidding. Thank you all for joining us. Matt has to leave now. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Yep. Yeah, so that's probably one of the biggest things, is from an advertising perspective, is seeing first of all, seeing ads as an investment, as we covered earlier, but from an actual individual ad point, you can think, well, this ad is so good, why is it not converting? Instead of just forcing money into it, follow the data. If it's not converting, it's not converting. So try something new. Yeah. Don't force money into it just because you think it might work one day. Like if it's not working within a couple of weeks, it's probably not going to work ever, that particular ad. So just try something new. Don't sort of drag it out for the sake of it just because you think it might work one day.
Kill your darlings.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, very much. Yep, well said. So it was just another one was about a similar sort of veins to the ads, but in the books. In a series, so some series just don't work with advertising. Some books just don't work with advertising. So as much as you love them, sometimes they just they just won't gel well with a particular audience, with a particular advertising platform. But you still need to give it time. You still need to give it at least 3 months, I would say, before you declare that an advertising platform doesn't work for this series. And also it's about building assets, not just books. So things like email lists is a big thing, building an audience there, building relationships with your readers and nurturing those relationships. And then also sustainable systems as well in your business, because at the end of the day, this is a business that you're running. And if you can have several sort of systems in place, so that a lot of it can be automated these days, particularly around the email side of things. Once you have systems in place for that can sort of look after itself almost. I'm not saying it's a set it and forget it, but you can and update it and adjust it, and based on the data again that you see in terms of open rates and click-through rates, that sort of thing with emails, that can be adjusted. But you can have systems in place for various different aspects of your business. Another thing is thinking long term. So thinking 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the line. I'm not saying we set goals for 10 years, but at least we set it for 1 or 2 years, but we've got some sort of destination in place. That definitely helps. And when you say, well, I'm going to still be here in 10 years time, so let's build a business that's still going to be here in 10 years time. And you can start doing that today. And then also another thing is embracing simplicity over complexity, as we've covered before as well.
Yeah, that's great. You've mentioned some things, so I don't know if you have an answer for this, but what are some of the common mistakes you see
around
ads and mentality around ads and things like that?
Okay. So one of the things is analysis paralysis, if you like. Too much stuff going on in the business and not knowing where to start. So you sit down at your desk on a Monday morning and you think, well, I've got all these things to do. Where on earth do I start? And the way I get around that, because I've definitely been there, is on a Friday when I finish, or maybe a Sunday evening when the kids are in bed, then I'll just spend 10 or 15 minutes just planning out what I'm going to do this week. And I just time block it in the calendar. So I know what I'm doing. I know what calls I've got. I know what I'm doing with Laurie's ads. Okay, Facebook ads, we've got this to test this week. I want to increase the budgets on this campaign. So I've got all that sort of mapped out. I know what I'm doing when I sit down. And it's all mapped out in the diary. It doesn't always work out because when you've got kids, things happen.
Right.
But I've got a bit of a plan for the week, and that really helps me get over the analysis paralysis effect, if you like. Another sort of mistake I suppose I see is jumping ship, as we've covered previously, and saying, right, Facebook ads doesn't work. Okay, let's jump to BookBub. Oh, let's jump to Amazon because BookBub doesn't work. Or I'm trying this approach with Facebook ads this week. And then you see a video on YouTube that has a completely different strategy. So you scrap everything and start that one. And you just sort of constantly switching and never giving anything time to really build up and get momentum, get traction, and collect some real statistically significant data on anything. And then if we're just speaking about advertising, which is something I did in the beginning, I was so focused on which authors to target or which genres to target. And I never put I did put a bit, but not as much as I do now, thought into the ad creative itself, the actual ads that people are seeing on their newsfeed, because that's what's really going to have an impact, much more so than the targeting itself. Is the actual content of the ad. So what's in the image? How are you displaying the image? What's the composition looking like? How are you writing the headlines? How are you writing the primary text? What are you revealing in the primary text? How are you pitching, if you like, your book? What angles are you going after in the primary text? What emotional triggers are you going after? So it's really neglecting the creative side of things and focusing more on the sort of nuts and bolts of Facebook ads is another thing. Another one is impatience with data and sort of making changes before campaigns have had enough data to be meaningful. And just if we're sending traffic from Facebook ads to Amazon and we've got Amazon attribution, there's a horrible data lag on Amazon attribution that
horrible that
every author finds very frustrating. And I know that Amazon attribution isn't 100% accurate, but the way I see it, it's much better than having zero data. So I do put quite a lot of reliance on the Amazon attribution data. It just takes time to come in. And if you're making decisions on ads before that data is fully populated, you could be killing off an ad that is potentially very, very good.
How long do you normally wait?
How long do I wait? At least a week. At least a week minimum. Yeah. Any less than that is not really enough. There's exceptions to that. So what I find is if we're running a promotion or anything like that, and we're spending a few $100s a day on Facebook ads, for example, then I find the data comes in the next day. Not all of it, but you get enough data to see, okay, there was 90 sales on this ad, but only 20 on this one and 30 on that one. Then you can generally see that within a day, I find. But then over the course of the promotion, then that data fills up even more. But even within a day, you've got more data. So if you spend more and send more traffic to Amazon, I find the data comes in quicker. So whether that's something that's built into their system or not, I'm not sure, but it's just something I've seen. But generally for just ongoing evergreen ads, then at least a week. But if I'm starting ads on a Monday and I'm coming in the following Monday to look at the ads, then what I'll do is I'll ignore the previous couple of days. So on a Monday, I'll ignore the Sunday and Saturday attribution data and just look at the Monday to Friday from the week before. So I'm looking at essentially 5 days worth of data rather than 7, because the data from Saturday and Sunday, the 2 days previously to the day I'm doing the actual tracking, won't have populated. I mean, even the Monday to Friday from the week before won't have fully populated, but we'll get a bit of an idea. And Amazon say that sales can take up to 7 days to fully populate, and page reads up to 14 days. So it can take time for it all to come in. And there's been plenty of cases where I've turned off an ad thinking, well, I've got a bit of data there and it's not, I've got 5 days worth of data, but it's not great. So I'm going to turn it off. And a few days later, loads more data comes into that ad that you turned off. Think, oh, well, better turn that one back on then.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
That's definitely happened. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes you can be a little bit too impatient with the data and making changes before it's fully populated. And then, yeah, the other one which I've got noted down here is we've already covered, is treating advertising as an expense rather than an investment. And it's understanding that you're buying data that once you've got that data, you can use it to improve the performance going forward. So that's an investment rather than expense.
Yeah, I like that. You're buying data.
Yeah.
It feels like you're at least getting something for it instead of just losing money, just throwing it out the window. You are getting a return on it.
Exactly. At least you know what doesn't work as well as what does work.
So this has been great, and some great, very specific tips and some great mindset tips.
Yeah.
So tell people where they can find out more about you and your courses and what you do online.
Yeah.
Sure, thank you. So yeah, my home online, if you like, is matthewjholmes.com. And on there I have a newsletter that goes out every Saturday with tips and insights about marketing, author businesses and advertising, things like that.
Very good. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's where people can find me and find out about my courses and working with me one-on-one as well through there.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you for being here. And we will have all those links in the show notes. And you can find those at wishidknowforwriters.com. And if you want to support the podcast, you can go to that same link /support. We'll see everybody next week.
Bye.